Hello again, everybody. Today we are going to start a new series of parks that I'm calling the MasterClass series. We're going to go back and look at some of my favorite parks of all time and just some of the highest rated and, in my opinion, the best parks that are on New Element and other sources as well. So we're going to start with one of my personal favorites. This is Starpointe by Pacificoaster. This came out a number of years ago, but still holds up really, really well from a quality standpoint. It's a Cedar Fair theme park that fits nicely here with a good collection of coasters and some great theming. So we're going to kick it off and take a look and kind of see how well it's aged and also just find some of the details. Starting outside, you got a great parking lot. Nice little security booth here and everything. I think one of the things that's changed since this park was a thing is that now it's almost a prerequisite that you got to have traffic and other things like that. So I'm kind of a take it or leave it as far as that goes, but it certainly adds a little bit more livelihood out here. I really like the coaster cameras here used as the parking lot lights. That's a pretty clever addition, and some nice little landscaping pieces here that definitely reminds me of some other Pacificoaster work. Really nice looking curved wall fence on this side. Kind of a shame it doesn't jump over onto this side as well, since you're coming from the parking lot here as well. But I do like the stacked version here, and then the kind of repetitive columns along the whole thing. So come in, it's a very Geauga Lake type entrance with the three towers here and this little kind of cozy main street, I guess. Got our nice little ticket booths outside and a nice open vista here. I like the center line here is preserved. There's not a building in the middle of it. And then there's also the guest services standpoint. The little pieces here that are used as the windows through the glass is pretty clever. I like that. I don't think I've noticed that before, but that's a good touch. But jumping inside, we've got a number of little restaurants and shops and everything. Kind of just have our whole little strip here. This is Corner Bakery. An appropriate level of Cedar Fair trash cans. Cedar Fair is always known as the trash can parks of the world, so those are covered rather well. I like that this building has kind of a two-sided access here. So we've got the locker building on the front, and then also on the back side here as you pop over into the water park. And then in addition, there's these pavilions, which are pretty simple, but look good. A little bit of services here with the drink stand and everything else. And then the restroom here as well. But then we jump across here. Let's continue on through the main street. We have our first roller coaster here. This is Gemini. Clever use of Gemini with the two loops and two corkscrews. It is a pretty good looking layout. It feels very Arrow corkscrew esque. So it's a 1979, which fits about the right time frame there. A nice take on the double loop, double corkscrew layout too. So it's not kind of the bog standard run of it, but it still looks really good. Have the sort of unnecessary mid-course brake run in here, but I feel like that's the same for corkscrew at Cedar Point, just as much. Obligatory corkscrews over the pathway, but I feel like you kind of have to have them. And I'm really liking this initial queue entry here as you wrap around this big statement tree and then jump under the coaster and then continue up into the station. Well done on the transfer track here, where it's just a little bit too short. I'd almost would have gone a second one. A lot of the old Arrows had their station or their maintenance area underneath the station like this. So this is a pretty good look overall. I would have gone probably with a 7-car train rather than the 6-car. Feels a little bit more realistic, but can't fault it. 6 fits a little better RCT scale. Got our nice clover leaf shaped car ride here. Cool covered bridge and nice little tunnels underneath. A good look and a nice little bits of scenery in here. Got the waterfall, got the gas station at that angle, and then some of the billboards and the other things along. So fits really well. Feels very like it was one of the earlier things. I like this Irma's. The structure is just really nice, and I like the mix of the horizontal and the vertical textures. These look good. Great theater here, and the Starcade, clever. Uh, Also done well. And then here we have the Star Tower, a nice observation tower with a nice custom mast on top, looking pretty good. Same with the queue line on the backside here. And then I like the touch of the stairs that were added since this is the double-decker one. Here we've got another little good restaurant building, and then over here with the Dodgem ride, really like this facade. This has always been one of my favorite facades in the whole map, with the monster truck track here creating the arch, and then the kind of nice open-sided look, and then the open-sided top here, so you can at least see a little bit of what's going on within that space. And then we cap the main street here with our Snoopy's Starlight Spectacular show here, which kind of feels very much like a show that Cedar Fair might have done on one of their parks. All right, so we're back here, so let's continue along. Right off of the main street here, we have Orion, which, looking back, is funny. Now there's an actual Orion coaster at a Cedar Fair park. This is a Summers and Din wooden coaster. It's sort of a double out and back layout, and looks pretty darn good too. Lots of the flat corners, which is sort of a typical thing of this style. 6-car train appropriate with the 2-bench PTCs. I'm liking the tunnels. That's a nice touch. And then some of the detailing here, like the metal structure across, and then just some of the added structural pieces here. I think a lot of times you can pretty easily get too into wooden coaster supports and make them look worse than they actually are. I mean, the in-game ones are fine as it currently is, but that's a nice little details here. I like the footers up underneath. I have a hard time with them sometimes because they do this little weird thing where if you put just the one, you're going to get the double up the base plate. So you almost have to do two, but then that looks a little tall sometimes. So it's a trade-off as to really what you want for the overall look. Looks like because of the anti-rollbacks here, we're able to get a couple of trains on here when they probably shouldn't be, but since there's no mid-course brake run, but that's fine. You can only really adjust that with timing. I like the station here, very classic. You have a nice little tower on the side, a couple of dormer windows and everything, feeling good. Continuing into this space here, we have a pathway transition and another classic flat ride, the Scrambler. Over here to the first of the major flat rides here, Max Air. Really loving the sign with the big X. I think that looks really good. And the very, very, very Cedar Fair typical canopies here with the triangular shapes and the vending machines here on the side. That was sort of an odd move, but I'm sure they made revenue at some point, which justified it. Then we have the Windseeker ride here, which is done very well. Just sitting up top, moving continuously. It would have been great if you could have made it working, but around this time, I think it was still a kind of a hit or miss thing as to even having this running and having the cars spaced as they were. I think that's really what sells this, is that there's not 40 cars on the thing. They're actually spaced out a little better, which looks good. Liking the curved platform here at the bottom as well. All right, then we jump into Nighthawk over here, which is a smaller B&M inverted coaster. Got standard diving drop, loop, zero-G roll, Immelman, and Batwing with the single corkscrew at the end. I really like this layout, actually, and especially how well the Batwing is framed here with the little trench. It feels kind of like Vortex at Kings Island did, where the Batwing was placed really well around the path. Unfortunately, it brings along some of these kind of ugly nets on the side, but I think I'd rather see them than not. It feels realistic with that overall look. I like in this kind of plinth sign right here that you've got. Um, Good finish out here over the water. Feels kind of like California's Great America's one. Again, nicely done with the back of house areas. This is a great looking structure here. Feels very appropriate to how it ought to be, and then the nice area details here in the middle. Again, would have liked to have seen the station platform, standard station platform removed, but again, that wasn't something that was super done at the time, I suppose. Really cool Q details here, like this stealth bomber on its side, and just the little canopies and coverings here, the Nighthawk hangar. And then also on the station itself, the very Carowinds Top Gun-esque central tower here. So well done, looking good. Supports are also really excellently done. Turning around here, we've got Mel's Drive-In, or the Coaster's Drive-In, I guess, which is a staple at Cedar Fair parks across the U.S. And then also the smoking area here. And I like this colored wall being used to divide the back of house space here as well. Restroom building on this side, then also the pass-through into the water park, which we'll get to here a little bit later. We've got Dominator, one of the Intamin second generation drop towers with the 4 individual drops on there. And then also the go-kart tracks over here, Starpointe Speedway. Again, pretty standard Cedar Fair-esque canopies. And just looking good overall with the garage there and all the nice little details and the nice little back-of-house details as well are looking very good. All right, so let's go back to the front of the park here, and we're going to jump around in this direction. First thing we come to is this great basketball game, the 3-point shot challenge. All the little tat here on the walls, and then the nice hoop, plus the all the nice little details there. Really well done. Same with this whole games area here. This feels very Cedar Point-esque with their games area just on the right as you come in. And the skee ball, the horse race, and then I really like this detailing up on the top with the flags and everything, and the bright sort of in-your-face colors. Here's what looks like a Johnny Rockets, and it is, with some good sheet wall on the front, and then also the seating areas here as well. On the coaster front, we've got this guy right here on the front, Lynx, B&M 2002. This is a floorless coaster. Again, a really solid layout. Starting with the Cobra Roll, which is a little bit different, and I like that. Loop, dive loop, and double quirks. No zero G roll, unfortunately, which is something I always miss, but Dominator is fantastic at King's Dominion, so you can't fault it for not having a zero G roll. What I do like is that there's a consideration to what else is in the park. So this guy's got a Cobra Roll, this guy's got a Batwing. This guy's got a dive loop. This guy's got an Immelman. So there's a good thought process to a variety of inversions and what is there in the park. But great layout overall, fun to watch, excellent supports, and I really like this yellow, orange, and blue color scheme throughout. Pretty interesting queue here, wrapping up underneath of the coaster, and then all your standard coverings throughout up into the pretty simple station. But really, Cedar Fair doesn't have detailed stations. They're all pretty boxy, pretty simple, pretty open air. So you can't fault it. It's what they are. This is a very kind of traditional Cedar Fair looking photo building too, that you see at a lot of exits of their rides that have these sort of chunky rounded awnings on them, and a planter here that's open air to look in, and then you kind of pass through it, and then the wall on the side has all the photos and everything else. So that's a really well done building. Clearly, he's looking at the source material there. Over here, we've got the Impulse Coaster. So this is Green Mamba as opposed to Black Mamba or just Mamba. Nice Impulse Coaster. Very traditional looking roof here with the cantilever overhang. Kind of feels like Top Thrill Dragster's roof. Nice looking overall. Good details here covering the limb stators and having the electrical building on the side here, right where it would be in real life. You've got the queue gates on this side as well, and then the open air exit gate on this side with the operator booth here, and then all the viewing space just right on the side there. I like too this little creation of the seating area wrapped around with planters, so it's sort of a little intimate space within the larger plaza, and then you got some pretty good tree coverage here as well. But good looking ride overall. Went with the twist and the straight version, which feels appropriate, and then also has the nice little detail here of the hold brake, which was on the options that came with the straight version. Wrapping into this side, we have a nice little gift shop here, coming through, snake bites, clever. And then we're into sort of our Wild West town, which was appropriate for Cedar Fair parks, kind of as far theming as they did. A lot of times it ended up taking the form of this kind of a look. Great looking buildings here, just the western facade, very plain and simple, but nicely detailed. Got a lot of warm colors here, browns, reds, yellows, the rusted roofs, and then some of these more metal roofs as well. The Frontier Falls is looking good, and it's the kind of standard Intamin Shoot the Chutes ride. This was right when that came out at Cedar Point, and did not do so hot at Cedar Point for a number of reasons, and is no longer there. But a great selection here with the layout. So you have the two lift hills, the one regular or orthogonal, and then the one that's diagonal. I think that's really well done. Got a nice drop here with the big splash, coming along to a fair bit of theming, like a little bit more theming than you usually see. But at the time, this is what they did. So there's a good water splash here into the water, and then you got some nice little light details and things like that here. Same with this this photo pole right here. Then we've got the little coaster section of the dive into the lift and drop with the cool rockwork and waterfall here. And really liking this station, just kind of how it sits over top of the water and has these longer stairs. I like that look on this one. The HK Log Company coming through here. And then just some nice back of house details like the davit arm here to pick off the boats, and then the filtration for the water. Here we've got Patriot, which is the Scream and Swing ride. Nicely done that this is an operable Scream and Swing ride. It's just the one side, so it must be a little less crowded today, being that they're operating a single side, but looks nice. Good look. I like the little bit different take on the canopies here, just turned at a 90 degree or 45 degree angle to give it some variety. Then over here we've got the another station here for the train, Starpointe Railroad, and transitioning in here to the kids area, the Camp Snoopy. We've got a couple of different things here. First, there's the 2x2 rides spinning around, a couple of good flat rides, classics, the swing ride and the balloon ride, and then we also have the Zero Kids Coaster here, which is pretty simple, but a good look overall. Again, nice detailing with the lights and things like that, just to give it a little bit of variety there. I like this hop over the front of the station building right there. I think that's a good look overall. So we'll cross the bridge over here back to the last area of the theme park proper before we go over to the water park. Starpointe Speedway. Huge fan of this, the diamond pattern dark and light checkerboard. So this is the racing theme here in the back. Clearly the more new, or one of the newer rides in the park. So this is Intimidator 2010. Layout here is based off of iSpeed at Mirabilandia in Italy, which has since been cloned in Turkey as well. So we got the top hat with the couple of airtime hills, and then a few inversions scattered in there as well, including that fast roll here, and then an interesting implement into a roll, which is something that the original one had in the renderings and then was taken out before it was built. So it's a little bit of a variety there, a little different than usual. Nice transfer track, nice and simple. It's very Intimidator 305. What I really like on this one is this higher elevation turn here over top of the pathway area. It's a good way to bring in some interaction to what otherwise doesn't really have it on the other side. But great detailing here as far as realistic details go. So we got the LSM stators here. You got the quad rail track. Good support work, really well done on that side, and the quick in and out transition of the rolls. Again, with the photo area here, and then some of the other bits and pieces. I like the Victory Circle plaza on this side, locker building, and then the entry here, which fits the theme of those. Smoking area here next to the Victory Lane store, very appropriate look overall. And then pit stop, which almost looks like it was an existing building in the park that was re-themed when this whole thing came in, because NASCAR doesn't really go with sort of woodsy Cedar Fair feel overall. So it kind of feels like this was a product of a re-theme once this all came in. Liking these cantilever umbrellas too, a little bit larger and fits really well. And then you got the little river walk here in the back area. It would be nice to see some tables and some things like that on this side, but also nice to see the curved fences here. Maybe a little bit tall. I would have gone with 2 rather than 3, but I like the look. I think it looks nice, and then that carries on through a couple of different spots here, and I like the transition between the wood, where it's up and over the water, versus the tile pathway on the flat section, and then another change over here with the brick just off of the side. And then we've got our Whitewater Canyon Rapids ride here on the far end. So again, nice theming detail. So we've got the curve station, starts with the lift up and out of the water, nice structure underneath. We got the davit arm here to pull the rafts up and out of the water. And then a lot of really good theming with the 1K rocks and the waterfalls. It's not overdone, which I think is nice. It feels appropriate, and the channel, looks artificial enough where it looks like it was properly themed to be what it is. The couple of peaks out here are good, because one of the things with at least the Cedar Fair Rapids rides especially is that oftentimes they're really, really hidden in the back parts of the park in the very forested covered areas. So the fact that he's not done that entirely, that it's buried for the most part, but then it has this one little peak here where the guests can come take a look at it with this great tableau of the waterfall behind it, I think is a good look overall, and it's an appropriate design for this type of a park. So the train ride here has a really nice back of house area as well. We've got a couple of the pieces here with the water tank, and then the sidings back here, and then just in general some nice little back of house themed elements, and then the fencing here and all of that. Back of house actually continues across here. We have our maintenance area on this side. Some theming on the inside. It would have been nice to see some more in here. I don't know if there were some object limit concerns that stopped that, but it would be nice to see more of it, and just kind of more vehicles and things like that. But again, that a lot of that developed from this park to what we are now, so it's not necessarily surprising that that's not necessarily shown here. Another little office building on this side. And then before we wrap up, we'll look over here at the water park. So we've got Wild Water Kingdom, which is a very nicely done water park here. A couple of good features to make it peepable and give some little bit of motion in here. We've got our wave pool here with some cool waterfalls coming down on the end. The building behind it with your filtration tanks and all the paddles to do the waves. Actually, I really like, you can see underwater here all the different channels for the waves, and then the various whitewater pieces here doing the motion of it. But like that this is activated here with the swimming ride. Nice look overall. And then also the kind of premium cabanas here in the corner. Good look with these sort of overlaid triangular canopies. It's a theme that carries through in a couple of spots with all the bright colors and everything. Really liking this kids play area. Looks like it's not activated with peeps, but some nice little slides here and good detailing. I like the use of the slide here for the volcano, and then the water splashing out on top. I think that's a good look. And then this little buoy here as well. That's a neat little feature. You get some of the larger slides on this side. So we have a double tower here with the whitewater aqua loop slide, and then the speed slide, as well as the two crossing tube slides here. Nicely done also. We've got your tube rental here on this side, and then also the various tubes for the rides here. A nice little flow rider upcharge attraction here in the middle. Also pretty clever, nice look. It feels very realistic, has that good look to it. And then probably my favorite water ride here at this in the water park is the double Master Blaster here, Rangoon Rapids. With the purple and the green, I like that they cross and have a couple of dual sections here before they go through the water curtain on the way out. And the fact is that it's operable too. Nice feature as well. But this one looks really good. Just overall, it has a nice look to it. A nice restaurant here, the Oasis, keeping that motif from the entrance here of the South Seas, peaked canopy with the wood looks and the open truss type structures, and then the sort of wood facade detailing here and the canopies over top. I do like the use of the chairlift here for holding up these awnings. I think that's a nice look from a cantilever standpoint, so that you don't have all the posts coming down into it. Here we have our lazy river, also operable with, it looks like 2 tracks, so that's nice to have that. And then some little details throughout, like the waterfalls on a couple of spots here, and then the nice bridge up and over using the car ride and the wooden coaster track, so it gives that nice curved look to it. Some pretty cool details here with the Boomerango, again, a whitewater product, so clearly this park has gone to whitewater for a few different things. And then the family raft slide here, which is pretty substantial. The track layering is good here with the bobsled track and the actual water slide track, just so that we can get a little bit of that good look with the water slide, but also can do some more interesting things here. And makes it look a little bit more beefy with that nice structure here in the back as well. Also a peepable ride. It would have been nice to see this used as the family raft ride, like using the rapids boat perhaps or something like that, but the regular raft also fits too, and then get a couple of more of those guys in here too, just so to keep up the throughput. But that is everything here in Starpointe. There's a lot of great details, a lot of nice little back of house areas with the dumpsters and the recycling dumpster, and then this here for the car ride and everything. And it's thought out very well, so you can see how compact this area is, as it should be. But this serves this side, this side, this side, and 3 different areas in a pretty substantial space within the park. So it's definitely thought through from a park planning standpoint, and considering how each of these areas is going to be serviced and worked through. But it's a great looking park, really good layouts, very strong. I think the Intamin launch coaster is probably my favorite of the layouts, but I'm also a fan of the floorless especially, and then the others too are pretty quality. And it's a good kind of medium-sized park, so there's 5 big coasters, but there really doesn't, well, I guess 6, once you consider the Impulse as well, but it doesn't need to be more than that. It doesn't feel like it needs to be more than that. It feels appropriate for this kind of size of a park. But on the whole, very well done. This is one of the highest scoring parks on New Element's history, so it's not surprising, and not surprising too that I'd pick this as the first one here for the MasterClass review sessions. So once again, congratulations to Pacificoaster on an incredible park, and we will be back for more reviews here in the future. If you have a review you would like to see, send a note to cedarpoint6 at New Element forums. All right, thank you very much for watching.